Good morning or afternoon, year four, whatever time you are doing this math lesson. Hope you've had a great day so far. All you need is this, lesson 19, which will either be in your pack or you will have had it emailed to you this morning. This is all about solving fraction problems. So we did a bit of a big one on Friday, didn't we, about fractions? We're jumping into now taking our fraction knowledge and then applying it to solve problems. We're going to jump straight to number one. It'll look like this. And it says, compare the fractions marked on the number lines below and circle to show which fraction is greater. Greater obviously means bigger. So have a look at A. Put your finger on A. Now the first one, as you can see, looks like this. There's 0, there's 1. It's been partitioned right down the middle. There's a little cross there that signifies this area of space here. Then you got this one, same deal, 0 and 1. It's been partitioned differently, hasn't it? And the cross sits there. I want you to look at that and circle which one you think is greater. Pause the video and off you go. Spot on. It is this one on the left here. So we should have that circled. If you look at this, it's been partitioned into half, which means this space, this area here has been basically coloured in or has been occupied. This one has been split into thirds. And only this little space here is occupied. So it's a lot smaller, isn't it? Now look at B, C, D, and E, and just use that same concept that I used and circle the bigger fractions. Off you go. All right, answer time. So for B, it was the one on the left. C, again, the one on the left. D, again, the one on the left. And E, just to try and trick you, it was the one on the right. So give those a tick off. Next one, partition the number line to show where these mixed numbers and improper fractions sit. Draw arrows to show where they sit. So if you look at the first one there, it says 2 and 1/3. So there's 2. It's bigger than 2, but it's not quite 3, is it? Not quite 3. So what you'd have to do, it's somewhere between there, 2 and 1/3. You'd have to split this area from 2 to 3 into thirds, and then you will draw a line from there to show me 1/3. Off you go. Next one, 2 and 3/6. So we partitioned it into thirds. What did we learn last Friday? When we do sixths, how can we partition something from 1/3 into 1/6? Yes, we split it in the thirds, then we cut each of those thirds into half. So you've already done your thirds, so between each of those thirds you need to split them in half so that you've got from 2 to 3, 6 equal or roughly equal parts. Off you go. Now once you've done that, you need to count along your number line from here to here 3/6. Then you need to draw an arrow from 2 and 3/6 to the correct position. Off you go. Wait a minute, I've just realized something. Here is the fraction 3/6. Yeah? If I did this, if I divided both of those numbers by 3, what would I get? 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 3/6 and 1/2 are the same. Okay? So 2 and 3/6 is the same as 2.5. Okay? This leads into the last one, which is 3 and 3/6. So it's bigger than 3, it's not quite 4, somewhere in the middle. You need to partition your number line into sixths. Then you need to draw an arrow from there to show 3 and 3/6. Off you go. Okay, so 2 and 1/3 would sit about there where my clicker is. 2 and 3/6 would sit about there, halfway. 3 and 3/6 would sit exactly halfway there. So check that you got those. All right, here's an example of a word problem. So let's read through this carefully. Joe, here's the problem here. The first thing it wants you to do is read through the problem. So we'll read the problem together. Joe ate 1 1/3 chocolate bars and his friend ate 2 chocolate bars. How many chocolate bars were eaten? Next step, draw a diagram to solve the problem. So we've got Joe's chocolate bars there. They've partitioned the chocolate bars into 3 parts to make it a bit easier. So there's one whole chocolate bar and there's 1/3 of a chocolate bar. His friend ate 2 chocolate bars. So there's 2 chocolate bars there. So first I drew 1 1/3, then I drew 2 chocolate bars. I can see that there are 1, 2, 3 whole chocolate bars and 1/3 left over. So the answer would be 3 and 1/3 chocolate bars were eaten. You could also draw a number line. Here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've placed down 1 and 1/3 by partitioning between the 1 and the 2 in thirds. And then I've jumped 2 places, okay? So I've added 2 holes to that, and I end up with 3 and 1/3. So whatever's easiest for you, that's the option you go with. Now, we got a couple of problems here that I want you to give a go by yourself, and we'll talk through them. It says solve the following fraction word problems by drawing diagrams or number lines. Show all of your thinking. A. Kylie spent 1/3 of an hour on her homework each night on Monday and Tuesday, and she spent 1/6 of an hour on her homework each night on Wednesday, Thursday. How long did she spend doing her homework? So, I want you to draw 1/3 for Monday, 1/3 for Tuesday, 1/6 for Wednesday, and 1/6 for Thursday. You can do that by drawing circles and partitioning into thirds. You can do that with a number line and partitioning into thirds, or you can do that with a square and partition into thirds. It is up to you. Then add them all together. Give that a go. All right. How'd you go with that one? I'm going to go over the answer. So if this and this, if I draw Monday and Tuesday, right? You know what? I'm actually going to do it using squares. So I'm going to draw a square for each day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay. Then I'm going to break Monday and Tuesday into thirds. Again, Monday, Tuesday into thirds like that. Notice I make sure everything's equal so it's easy to follow. Then I'm going to split Wednesday and Thursday into thirds and then into half again to make sixths. So I split them into thirds, then I cut each of the thirds in half to show sixths. Now that represents an hour, that whole thing. Okay? So if I add all these together, I know that. I'm going to draw another box. I'm going to split that box again into thirds. And I'm going to colour it in. So I'm going to put 1/3 onto the box. I'm going to put another third onto the box. So it looks like that. Now I'm going to put 1/6 in here. Now that is 1/3. So if I split that in half and I colour in half of it, there's 1/6. Then I've got to add in the other sixth. And the box is coloured in. I said before that box represents 1 hour. So Kylie, I'm going to put a little equal sign in there to show that all of those added together gives me that. And I'm going to write Kylie spent 1 hour on her homework. And there you go. That's one way I can do it. Another way I can do it is, I'm going to run out of paper here, drawing a number line, and then I'll put 0 on one end and 1 on the other, just like that. Then I'm going to break it up roughly into thirds. And I'm going to start at 1/3, which is Monday. So I'm going to draw a cross and write Monday. Then I'm going to jump a third for Tuesday, like that. So that represents Tuesday. I'm going to jump, I'm going to put a cross and write T for Tuesday. Then I'm going to do one jump of a sixth. 1/6 is half of a third, so I jump halfway, and I put a W for Wednesday, and then I just got to do Thursday. One more jump of a sixth, which is half of a third, and that gives me TH for Thursday. So altogether, I've got 1 hour of work being done. Is that the answer you got? If not, pause the video and give it another try the way that I did it. B. There are 5 sandwiches. If Aiden, Tony and David share the sandwiches equally, how many sandwiches will each boy get? Tricky. 5 sandwiches, each of them has to get a third. So what you need to do is draw 5 sandwiches, cut each of those sandwiches into thirds, and work out how many each person will get. Off you go, give B a try. Okay, so if I've got 1 sandwich, 2 sandwich, 3 sandwich, 4 sandwich, 5 sandwich, just like that. I cut them into thirds. Like that. I'm going to colour in the amount that Aiden's going to get. So they're all going to be for Aiden. They're all going to be for David. They're all going to be for Tony. So if we count in thirds like we did last week, we're going to go 1/3, 2/3, 1 whole, 1 1/3, 1 2/3. So each boy, and if I show that here, I put 1/3, 2/3, 1 whole, 1 1/3, 1 2/3, just like that. I'm showing that I'm counting. Okay, so each boy will get 1 2/3. So there's a good lesson, guys. There's a good way to share. If you've got sort of 3 people in your family, for example, and you need to share something, you need to share 5 of something, you just cut those 5 things up into thirds and then you distribute them equally. If you've got 4 people in your family, like Mr. G, you get 5 sandwiches, you cut them into quarters, and you share the quarters equally. Okay, so it's a good way to learn how to share, isn't it? Last question for our lesson, because we're not worrying about sheet 7. C, Aiden. We got Aiden back again. Aiden's auntie Kirsten was on holidays in April. She spent 1/6 of a month in each city: Sydney, the Gold Coast, and Brisbane. How many days was she on holiday? So she spent 1/6 of April in each city. Okay, so this is a tricky one, isn't it? What you need to do is think about how many days are there in April. Now, it was last month, wasn't it? So think about how many days were in April. She spent 1/6 of the month in each city. So I want you to divide the amount of days in April by 6. That is how many days she spent in each city. So pause the video and work out how many days she spent in each city by taking the days of April. So write it here. Days in April. April, not April. Divided by 6. And then that'll give you how many days she spent in each city. Work that out for me. Okay, so there are 30 days in April. You've split that amongst 6, which gives me 5. So she spent 5 days in Sydney, 5 days in the Gold Coast, 5 days in Brisbane. How many days did she spend on her holiday? Write down the answer. Now make sure that you have shown you're working out somewhere on that paper, okay? So for example, I've got 30 days in April divided by 6 equals 5 days in each city. Look at the lengths that Mr. G is going to. He's making his work clear. Then I go 5 days in Sydney plus 5 in Brisbane plus 5 in Gold Coast equals 15 days. So I've made my answer clear. I've talked through my working out, and I'm going to write the answer on that line there. I hope that you paused the video and gave it a go before checking out the answer. And that's it for today in maths, guys. I will see you in science this afternoon. Bye now.